Hello guys and welcome back to another Fan Factory episode where today we're doing a tour of Xero's factory. This save is actually pretty large, so if you do want to check it out yourselves, I highly recommend going over to satisfactorytips.com to check out the save file that Xero has provided for us. Along with the factory in the Spire Coast, there's also factories located in the northern forest by the Great Lake, next to the desert estuary, as well as the Golden Coast, as well as the marsh. However, there are also some smaller factories that are currently being built. This is a work in progress save, and there's plenty to talk about, so let's get into it. This time, in no particular order, we're going to start in the Golden Coast. This is where a lot of the fuel production is done. Straight off the bat, I really like the way that Xero has housed the refineries within these pillars. It looks much more like an industrial building rather than a production line strung together of machines, and that's something that I really like about this. On the opposite side, you can find the refineries moving the polymer resin, and what I like about this is the use of the signs behind the elevators. This is something that we've seen done in previous videos before. It's something that I really like and I'm really happy with here. And the fuel is then moved on along all of these generators, and I think in this building alone there's 40 fuel generators. I find the yellow personally quite a harsh colour. It's not something that I'm too keen on, but I really do like the backlighting that Xero has done with the red. I think that really works well with the yellow, kind of blending in together. As for the outer structure, I'm really happy with the way it looks. There's lots of different textures and different depths that are being used, both with the pillars and also the foundations. And I like how they've made room for the chimneys to come outside of the actual factory. One thing that many people forget when they're building is they kind of plonk the factory down and don't think about the foundations. The slope here really is a nice way to frame the whole build, and is something that anyone can do really quickly and really easily. Across from this refinery, we do have our rail system, and this is one way in which you can traverse the whole map, and also the startings of a highway. Xero's approach to the rails is to use a single monorail, and it's going to go back and forth in a push-pull configuration, and you can see that all of the rail lines are nicely supported as well. In the rocky desert, we have our distributing center where all of the ores are picked from this area and then sent across to the estuary area. But before we go over there, let's just see how Xero has pulled all of the resources along these buses straight to the train station, where they are then deposited into the train line. The train then takes everything, as we were mentioning, over to the ore refinery area, which is located just at the start of the estuary. I do like that Xero has tried to not only decorate the buildings, but also kept areas open for planting and wildlife as well. Even if these things keep trying to kill me, and there is a random bauxite node just in between, or iron. Upon entering the ingot refinery, it seems very much like a computer factory or a car factory where everything is housed in their own production floors and there's a glass screen between them. Once the ores have been refined, they're then sent to the train station, the opposite side, where all the ingots are sent to the production centers. Our next point of call is in the Great Lakes. Now this is where all the basic items are being produced. We're talking iron rods, iron plates, screws, copper sheets, etc. This is done across multiple floors and different segments within this building. One of my favorite parts though is actually the difference between the grey outer wall and then having these bright red train stations lit up, really sticking out, but in a good way. I'm liking it. The production floors themselves are pretty cramped. They're just designed to produce those items without too much thought about the aesthetics. And that's fine. I'd much rather concentrate on a few key elements in a build than try and cover everything and make everything perfect. It's a huge amount of work to put in. The iron element to this factory is something slightly different though, because it definitely looks very compact, but at the same time it looks like there's been a lot of thought and methods going into this very compact build with them stacked. I really like it. something totally different to what we just saw. And obviously all of these are taken back to the train station. The basic resources are then exported from this factory and taken across to the main area in the Spire Coast. Now there really is a lot going on here, so I do recommend checking out the save on satisfactorytips.com. Also, if you are enjoying this, do hit the thumbs up, and if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe, as we do try to cover quite a few people's factories in our tours. The Spire Coast is comprised of several buildings, each dedicated to various parts, and none of them are repeated. They're all their own unique builds, even though they have similarities between all, such as how Xero partners the sloped foundations with the pillars to give it this heavy, chunky foundation support look. Xero also makes use of a few curves which really make this part of the save stand out, as well as housing parts of the factory within these little sections, which looks fantastic. And if you're wondering what those resources were being produced at the other factory, you have all of them here on display. Possibly my favorite thing that I've seen in this build is actually the little lamps that are hanging here, something that I've never thought to do myself. They are really easy to do. It's a beam connector by the looks of it, with the 1 meter signs turned up on the luminosity and then connected by cables. But it really does give a bit of atmosphere to this section of the world, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the rest of this area. Now, before we look at the major production building in this section of the map, I wanted to check out this building here. Overlooking the whole of the Spire Coast, we have this area, which is the HQ. It's like a private suite. Definitely feels as if Xero's playing around with integrating the nature into the build, and also playing around with different clipping techniques to give it a different aesthetic. And this is all housing the massive waterfall, which is coming from that faucet in the largest cliff of the, or largest arch of the Spire Coast. On the lower floors, we have this kind of foyer which opens up, and I love the attention to detail creating these seats. But this is one of the best sections of the map that you definitely need to check out. Once you've had enough of AI Corp, we're then going to head over to this main center. To the left, before we get there, there is another fuel generator setup and refinery section where all of the oil is sent to. Looking at the generator setup area, you can see it's very Xero-esque with the same style. I love the curves. And if we go inside, you can see that there's a high roof here, making it look very clean and open, despite having all of the refineries housed in their own little compartments. But it's time to head to the center of this. And this is really what I wanted to end this showcase on, because it is absolutely fabulous. This part of the build is producing both circuit boards and computers. Something that I've never thought about doing is covering up the coral beneath in the Spire Coast and showing it off here. I think it looks fantastic, and something that, again, I want to use in mine. On the top, we have the space elevator, as well as the drone ports, which are going to be bringing in resources and also taking out resources. But the real magic is inside underneath this. So this is just the logistics system. I thought it was pretty cool, so I wanted to show you, but we're going to jump down now and you'll see what's going on. Obviously, Xero didn't need to do this massive circular elevator for the circuit boards, but the way that they've done it with the lighting really does stand out, really does make a key moment in this save. I also really like the contrast here between the lit up center and a few smaller assemblers that are lit up, and then having the rest in darkness. Doing something like this takes a huge amount of work, and hats off to them, because it looks fantastic. And if you hadn't realized, above the assemblers for the circuit boards are manufacturers that produce the computers. So guys, let Xero know what you think to their build. I also believe that they have a YouTube channel, so do check them out. I'll put a link in the description below. And again, don't forget to check this. save out. But that is all we have time for in this one. Please do drop a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. Special thanks does go to all of our supporters, most notably our solo clips patrons, Cerebral Tag, James Owen, Firefless, and Jerry 2, as well as our Lunas, The Calamity, Dixie Chris, and Ben, and our Blood Moon of the day, which today is Papa Snoozy. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.